Welcome, everybody. I just wanted to first just kind of see what are you interested to hear, but how many entrepreneur startups in the audience? Great. Maybe I always like to start with like a good story. So one of our portfolio company, Dropbox, recently raised $250 million on $4 billion valuation. And when we met Drew and Arash about 4 years ago, it was just two young guys having a dream and building a product that, sharing files, which is really not a new idea. Everybody shares files, everybody, they compete with Google product, with Apple product, but they were just much more passionate at it and much better user experience, and they were able to build what is today a $4 billion company and 50 million users. So we think that's really fun to be part of their journey. And again, maybe some of your startups here are from overseas. How many of the startups from overseas? Great. We had also a really good experience with a company called Zong. David Marcus built the company in Geneva for 7 years, sharing ringtones and wallpaper through the telcos. And then he used the same technology and platform to do micropayment for mobile gaming. So he came from Geneva to Plug and Play, spent 2 years with us. Dana of Metrics put in $15 million in the company, and then the company was sold to eBay for $240 million. So he had about 7 years in Europe, 3 years here, and now he runs the eBay mobile payment platform. Really, really cool guy. And why I'm sharing these stories with you, because everything in Silicon Valley is sort of like deja vu, it repeats itself. So Andy Rubin, which we backed in his first company, Danger, he did the Sidekick. Then we were just about to invest in his second company when Google asked him to join Google, and he launched Android in Google. So part of the Plug and Play story is we were involved in PayPal, Danger early on. But nowadays what we want to do is we want to find the right entrepreneur who has a passion about his product and technology, and along the way increase his chances of success by 2x or 3x. And that's a pretty big statement. I think most entrepreneurs have about 10% chance of success. And if we, through Plug and Play, can increase it by 2x or 3x, we think we have done our job. So I welcome everybody to come and visit us. How many people have visited Plug and Play? Good. So if I repeat myself, tell me to shut up and I will try to do something. So let me give you a quick what is Plug and Play, and then this little bit focus on our international initiatives, the latest being in Moscow and what we do with different countries. So we really feel if you're a technology innovative company, you should be here. We really lately recommend you should not move the whole company here, because it's really hard to hire people, really expensive. We promote the Israeli model, that even if you're in Washington, D.C. or Pittsburgh or Geneva, you should keep some of the core team there. In fact, grow there, especially for your technical capability, but be connected here for biz dev, for raising money, and then finally for exit. So we really think 80% of all exits in the world are within 30 miles of here. So if you ever want to be like Zong and sell your company in 3 to 5 years, you better register it with Wilson Sonsini down the street, or make it look and smell and feel like American company. It doesn't have to be American company. It could be 90% elsewhere, but you have to have 5-10% of the people here. So we really think it's, if you're not in Silicon Valley, you have to be connected to Silicon Valley. As I mentioned, coincidentally, through our building, we had Google there, PayPal there. You could say we fall into this business by accident. And especially during the first bubble, I kind of felt left out. All of my friends were becoming billionaires. So we started investing in 4 or 5 companies a year, the last 10 or 15 years. And then I thought that if this little building in Palo Alto can have, we had Logitech in there, we had Osborne Computer in there, we had PayPal, Google. We said, what about if it's a big building? So now, Plug and Play Sunnyvale, I have 300 companies there. And I try to choose the best one, the best entrepreneurs, and follow their success for a couple of months before we invest and before we invite our VCs to invest. But this is a little bit of a snapshot of the last 5-6 years. We have 3,000 startups in our network, in our startups out of Moscow and Luxembourg. We physically have 344 startups at our facility. And then everybody knows us for the VC connections we have. We have like 4 startups investments with Sequoia. We have 2 with KP. We have 7 with Tim Draper. We have 2 with Excel. But lately, the value of corporate partnerships for our startups, I would say, is as good or greater than the VCs. So now, Lenovo, Huawei, Samsung, Microsoft, Google hold at least quarterly meeting in Plug and Play to say, how can we collaborate with you? How can you use our channels? How can we partner together? So right now we have about 20 telcos that hold office, Verizon, AT&T, Singtel, even Turkcell holds office at Plug and Play, NTT Docomo. And let's say, let me give you an example. MyCello, which just Google announced indoor map, MyCello does indoor maps for the last 4 years. They have the largest deposit of indoor maps in the world. And MyCello, through one introduction to Singtel, launched in Singapore, and the company became profitable. We had another company called Novares, is a voice recognition company based on set of data. They don't tell you we are voice recognition for anything. But if you want addresses, foods, restaurant, location of interest, they only search against that. And they just launched in Singapore with the Siri as a back end, but Novares, it's called Found in the front end. And Singtel CEO went on TV like for half an hour talking about the product and the company. So we really think the corporate partnership is a huge added value for our startups. This is a snapshot of last year. We had about 15 exits. This year we announced that we had about $500 million worth of exit, but only 6 companies, M&A. And almost every year we have between $100 to $130 million money raised. If you consider Dropbox, it was like 400 million, but that one was a little bit unusual to raise 250. So this is sort of like what we believe in. We believe in partnering with everybody that touches the entrepreneur and helping the entrepreneur in their journey. This is sample of our VCs, and the again, a lot of people, a lot of lawyers, a lot of people in the valley, super angels, know 5, 10 VCs. And I really tell you, a recommendation through somebody who has built a company with a VC, it's 10 times better than if you can even get to meet a VC at an event or something. So average VC will not look at the opportunity unless it's coming through somebody he knows, trusts. Their portfolio company is the best one. So if you want to meet like Sequoia, if you can get to know Drew at Dropbox and become a friend with him, and then Drew introduces you to Sequoia, is a shorter distance to Sequoia. So you always go through successful portfolio companies to meet the VCs. And for us, because we have about now 100 investments, we usually have lost money with them, made money with them, and so we kind of are on first name basis with them. This is sample of our investments. You know, lately we think Archie is going to have a great success. InfoX is going to have a great success. You know, SoundHound, I think, has overpassed Shazam in music recognition. It's a great, great startup. We love startups. Array Lab out of Stanford is doing educational games. The guy is 19 years old, has 3 masters. He dropped out of the PhD program to start this company. And so we love startups straight out of universities. This is a sample of our corporate partnership. The university bridge, my favorite lately is like Carnegie Mellon or MIT. We go there twice a year. We participate in their business plan competition. We look at whoever wins. They can come to a startup camp, which is a 3-month acceleration program and plug and play. And our goal with Carnegie Mellon or MIT is to look at 20 companies a year, accelerate 5 of them, and hopefully invest in 1 or 2 of them a year. And this is really our focus for 2012 and beyond. We little bit overdid our international bridges. You know, people make mistakes, so I made mistakes. But we have incredible relationship with Singapore, Malaysia, Luxembourg, Belgium, that we go there twice a year. We take 3, 4 of our VCs with us. We look at 60, 70 companies. And from like Belgium, we bring 16 companies a year, 4 per quarter here. Again, we tell them don't move here because you cannot hire people here. We bring them for a week of case study. For example, we study Zoosk, we study Lending Club, we study Dropbox, and sometimes the entrepreneur teaches half of the course. The venture capitalist, which invested in the company, teaches the other half of the course. We call this sort of like Harvard case study, but we call it live case study because sometimes the company actually goes and fails. But during this week, we do a lot of case studies, and the entrepreneurs get to meet at least 20 startups, a little bit more advanced, a little bit at the same stage, and they experience what happens in Silicon Valley. We do this with, I think, about 16 countries. We opened Plug and Play in Singapore with collaboration with National Research Foundation, Singtel, Media Digital Authority, and we plan to do between 5 to 10 investments in Singapore. Some of them Singaporean companies like Found and ThoughtBuzz, but some of them we hope to take American technology, brand, business model, and launch it in Southeast Asia. I don't know if you guys, Martin Mikos is a good friend of mine. if MySQL had 300 people in Scandinavian countries, he had 30 people in Sunnyvale. If he didn't have the headquarter in Sunnyvale, Sun would not buy the company for $1 billion. So another really good friend of mine is Bernard Liautaud of Business Object. And again, it was a Paris-based company, San Jose. One partner stayed in Paris. Bernard came to Sand Hill Road, and then San Jose. And then they built Business Object, took it public, sold it to SAP for $6.8 billion. When you ask Bernard, what would happen if you weren't connected to Silicon Valley, he literally says we would be a $20-30 million software company in Paris. So we really believe in this model. This is the Zong story, David Marcus. It's a little, doesn't have a B in front of it, but 240 million is good. And this is sort of like I love to answer some question, but what we do is we feel the entrepreneur has to do 99% of the work. He has to define the product. He has to build his team. He has to execute well. And as Plug and Play and our group of friends, the corporate partners, the venture capitalists, we have about 400 angels who come and co-invest with us. We do the other 1%. And with that, again, we have an event this Thursday from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We will be featuring 30 companies to 100 investors. It's called Plug and Play Expo. All of you are welcome to join us. And if you would like and you think myself or part of our team can be of some assistance to you, we love to do that. And let me just give you a little quick update on Moscow. How many people from Russia? That many? Yeah. So we are opening a Plug and Play Moscow, and we will have about 50 companies there. And then again, this is sort of evolving, but it might have a $50 million seed fund. And again, our main competitive advantage is bridging between Silicon Valley and Moscow. And that is, sort of announced. We are just finalizing the details. It is not as big. It's about a 30,000 square feet part of a building. It's not the whole building. But the building happens to house other VCs. It has an auditorium for 200-300 people. So it's actually, we love not to be in real estate business in Moscow. So it's just we're going to do the soft stuff and the operating system. So thank you very much. And if anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer it. Yeah. Please.
Hi, at what stage do you intend to invest in companies? Like how many people, how hard is that?
Great.
First question, and the second question is, how do you, in terms of investing, is there kind of a plan how you invest in terms of the amount of money and depending on development or cycle development?
Great. Let me use again this year as an example. I think we have done 15, 16 investments. We love to see the 2-3 people. We love companies to have more than one founder, preferably 2 or 3. We love that the entrepreneurs have put in 6 months, preferably 1 year time into their company, to their product. So they have to have something to show, some traction. And if we are not the first money in, we like to be the first serious money in. So usually somebody might have raised $200,000-300,000. When we like to participate, we either do a sub-$1 million round, like 800, 500 is very common, or we kind of hold off a little bit and do a $2-3 million round, usually with 1 or 2 VCs also involved. Let me give you an example. We just did a $2 million round with a really hot company called PyCloud. And PyCloud, the founder, had worked for about a year. He had 2 other co-founders. He had a product. He's sort of like an interface between a cloud and a consumer. And he had 8 term sheets, but he chose KP, Matt Murphy, Andreessen Horowitz, and Greylock, and us. And so this really is becoming common that the VCs will put in 500 and then put in 3 million in less than 10 months. So to answer your question, we like to be the A round, preferably with the VC, but sometimes we do the angel round as well. And we like the company to be, at least have about 6 months to a year of sweat equity, the team into the company. So it's not just the idea.
Okay.
Please.
How to apply?
I'm sorry?
How to apply? Should I just visit Sunnyvale or just write an email with a short...
Either one you like. I really, since you're only 15 minutes away, I really recommend you should visit us. And also, if you could visit us on Thursday, you will see it in action. You will see, we have about 30 VCs that have 2 to 3 hour deal reviews per month. On average, 2 per day. And then we have about 10 corporate partners per month who come there to collaborate with our startups. And I think if you go visit, you can ask to meet me or meet one of my colleagues. They give you a tour and they say how it works. We really, if you have a cool idea and we think you're serious about, passionate about your product, we don't try to make a decision to invest in your company in 1 hour or 2 hours. We much rather look at you perform for a month or 2 or 3 and invest. But you're welcome. Yes, please.
Apart from the investing itself, what are the requirements for early stage startup to come into plug and play and also the incubator?
We are becoming a little bit more, you could say, picky about the startups, but all of the startups pay rent. All of the other services is also almost a la carte. So if you're a product company and doing something innovative and cool, you usually qualify to be there. Then if we invest or not, or if the VCs invest or not, that's secondary. That's sort of the second step or third step. So we are very open door, welcoming policy.
So for someone to be located inside of Plug and Play, you are not asking for any equity?
No. Yes, please.
Do you provide any coaching or guidance throughout that?
Great question. We have about we tell our VCs, it's a pretty demanding group we are. We ask our VCs to coach our startups because they have a regular deal review. And for example, Sequoia comes there every other month. We tell them if the entrepreneur is not ready for the VC round, guide him in what he needs to deliver for the next 3 to 6 months to be ready for a VC round. And 9 out of 10, the VCs recommend one of their portfolio companies for the entrepreneur to collaborate with, to meet, to get his input about the entrepreneur. So other than that, we have about 50 executives in residence. These are angels, advisors, like for example, Charlie Steinberg used to be the president of Sony America. He's one of my advisors. He's there, he's retired. He jokes, he says he's like past the speed limit. but he is bright, brilliant. He loves digital media. He was the president of Ampex before Sony. So he knows more about Kodak, video, digital media than I could ever learn. And he's physically there every day. He coaches the startups. We just jointly invested in a company called IIO. And within 6 months, IIO licensed Netflix in 40 countries. The IIO, because of Charlie and because of Bob, who was the CEO of Polycom, I think the value of the company went like from 2 million to 30 million in 6 months. Because of that 1 or 2 deals they brought to the table. So we have these executives in residence. Every Friday at 11 o'clock, we have 5 companies, pitching to about 30 executives in residence. And then we go downstairs to lunch. So if they see a good match, they sit next to each other and work. So coaching, and we have also during our startup camp, I have like Tom Koznick from Stanford, Naeem Zafar from Berkeley. We have structured coaching, but we much prefer having more one-on-one mentoring and coaching happen naturally. All of this happens here. We just I call it Silicon Valley in a box. In plug and play, it just happens faster and hopefully better. Thank you so much. Thanks.